Captain Aaron crouched behind a shattered wall as fiery blasts lit the ash-gray sky. He steadied his breath, feeling the sting of heat on his cheeks and the tremor in his hands. Around him, human soldiers scrambled for cover, their faces drawn and weary. Every explosion brought fresh fear, yet Aaron's heart pounded with hope and worry, because somewhere beyond the smoke, he would see her again. Princess Solara of Althari fame moved through the chaos in silver armor that caught the dying light. She led her own squad of elite fighters, each step measured and silent despite the roar of war. Once, Aaron and Solara had run together through spring gardens under a violet moon, sharing secrets and dreams. Now, they stood on opposite sides of a brutal conflict that threatened both their worlds. A sudden tremor rattled the ground as an alien siege engine fired a volley of plasma shells. Aaron's squad answered with a hail of laser fire, but the enemy pressed on. Bullets kicked up dirt around Solara's boots. She raised her arms, signaling a retreat toward a nearby ridge. In that moment, her visor lifted, and Aaron's breath caught. Their eyes met across the battlefield's rubble. Time froze for a heartbeat. Aaron saw the soft curve of Solara's jaw, the silver braid that fell over her shoulder, the pain in her green eyes that mirrored his own. Memories of laughter and shared stories thundered through his mind. Memories of innocence in halls now, gone to ruin. Solara's lips parted as if to call his name, but the world erupted again. Shells exploded near them both. An instinct pulled Aaron forward. He sprinted over twisted metal to reach her side, ignoring shouts and orders. Each step felt heavy with doubt. Could he trust an enemy princess? Could she still be the friend he knew? When he reached her, Solara lowered her weapon and offered a tense nod. Neither spoke. Around them, soldiers raised weapons at the sight of a human and an Althari princess standing together. Aaron raised his hand in peace, then spoke in a steady voice he barely felt in his own throat. "Solara," he said, "it's me." Solara's eyes widened, and a single tear slipped down her cheek under her helmet's edge. She whispered Aaron, and the world dimmed to the two of them. For a moment they remembered running barefoot across soft grass, playing hide-and-seek beneath blooming trees. They remembered sharing dreams of exploration and peace between their worlds. But then duty returned, like a cold wind. Solara straightened, voice firm despite her trembling heart. "You must go back," she said. "I have orders." Aaron nodded, pain and relief warring in his chest. "I know," he replied, "but we will talk. Soon." A final blast forced them apart. Solara lifted her visor, hiding tears, and turned toward her line. Aaron watched her go, each step heavier than the last. As she vanished into the haze, he whispered, "I'll find you." That night, under a sky still glowing with fires, Aaron sat before the embers in a battered outpost. His squad slept around him, masks of exhaustion, yet Aaron could not close his eyes. He stared at the wounds in his armor and at the empty seat across from him, imagining Solara's bright laugh. He thought of the secret smiles they shared as children and wondered if friendship could survive this war. Hope and fear tangled. In his heart, he knew that tomorrow he would face her in battle again. But he also knew that old bonds ran deeper than orders or armor. Somewhere in the smoke and blood, he would find her and the truth they both needed. That was the promise he clung to as the embers died. That night, the wind whispered through broken walls as Aaron and Solara settled in the ruined outpost. Lanterns cast soft circles of light on the cracked stone floor. Aaron unpacked a small ration of bread and cheese, offering half to Solara. Accepted it with a shy smile that reminded him of their childhood. For a moment, they simply ate in silence, sharing a fragile peace far from the battlefield. Each bite tasted of home, even though neither of them knew if home still existed. Solara traced a finger along the rough wood of a collapsed table. "Do you remember the jasmine tree?" she asked softly. Aaron nodded, eyes shining. He recalled how they hid beneath its branches when they were children, breathing in sweet blossoms as fireflies danced above. They would play for hours, forgetting everything else. Now, under a sky stained by war, those memories felt like a lifeline. Solara's voice trembled as she spoke of nights beneath a violet moon, naming stars they charted in secret. Aaron leaned back against a crumbling pillar, gaze gentle. "I remember how you taught me your language," he said. His words stumbled on unfamiliar syllables, but Solara laughed a clear, ringing sound that warmed his heart. She corrected him kindly, her green eyes bright in the lantern light. Their shared laughter echoed across empty halls, driving away shadows for a moment. Each smile they exchanged carried years of friendship and years of pain, woven together in the quiet of that fragile night. A distant rumble shook the outpost as artillery fired beyond the ridge. Solara's hand flew to her armor. Aaron reached out, placing his palm over hers. "We are safe here," he whispered. She closed her eyes, leaning into his warmth. Between them lay a gulf of duty, yet in that moment only understanding. She told him of her people's fear of families torn apart, of children who watched, the sky for ships that never came. He listened in silence, pain twisting in his chest with each new truth. Aaron shared his own burdens. He spoke of letters unsent to his sister back on Earth, of nights he woke drenched in sweat, haunted by cries and shattered dreams. He admitted he had wanted to quit the army long ago, but something he guessed had kept him going. Hand closed around his, steadying him. She promised to carry his stories with her, to speak of humanity's courage in her empire's halls. Aaron felt tears sting his eyes, but held them back, afraid the moment would slip away. They rose together. To inspect their gear, Solara adjusted Aaron's helmet straps, her touch light yet assured. Aaron checked her blaster's energy cell, then offered his own thermal cloak. They moved in harmony, as if they were two parts of a whole rather than soldier and princess. The simple act of caring for each other felt revolutionary amid wars. Cruelty. Each gesture spoke of trust reborn, of bonds stronger than orders or fear. Before dawn, they sat on the ruined steps, shoulders touching. Silver light crept across the sky as distant stars winked goodbye. Solara pressed a small, worn flower into Aaron's palma jasmine-like bloom she had carried from her home planet. Its petals were fragile, fading, but its scent lingered sweet and true. Aaron held it close to his heart, promising silently that he would protect Itand, her memory, no matter what battles lay ahead. As the first artillery shells boomed on the horizon, they embraced briefly, each knowing this night of peace was borrowed. Solara's voice was a soft promise in Aaron's ear. "We will find a way." Aaron felt hope spark again, brighter than any weapon. In the quiet before dawn, old friends found new strength. Bound by memories of home and the promise of a future neither dared to believe possible until this night. Aaron moved through the twilight-drenched canyon, each footstep echoing against jagged rocks. Solara followed close behind, her silver armor faintly glowing in the dim light. They climbed higher toward the rebel hideout, guided by whispered rumors of hope. The air smelled of dust and promise. Aaron glanced at Solara's profile, firm jaw, steady eyes, and felt a surge of pride in how far they had come. When they reached a narrow ledge, Solara paused. Her breathing was steady, but Aaron saw tension in her shoulders. "This way," she said softly, pointing toward a hidden crevice. They slipped inside and found a tunnel carved into the stone. Torches burned along the walls, marking the path. Deeper into the mountain, Aaron's heart thudded as he imagined what awaited them. Rebels who risked everything for peace. Ahead, two guards stepped from the shadows. They aimed their weapons, but lowered them when Solara spoke in the Althari tongue. Aaron watched as the princess transformed before his eyes, from a captive of war to a leader among her people. The guards nodded respectfully and slipped away. Aaron felt a new respect for Solara's strength. He squeezed her hand, and she gave him a small, brave smile. They entered a cavern lit by hundreds of lanterns. Men and women in mixed human and Althari uniforms gathered around a rough-hewn table. Maps and datapads lay scattered across its surface. Solara stepped forward with confidence. "Thank you for meeting me," she said. Her voice echoed in the cavern, calm yet commanding. Aaron stood behind her, his presence a silent promise of solidarity. An older Althari officer rose. His eyes were wary but curious. "Princess," he said, You bring danger by coming here. Solara nodded and placed a dataship on the table. This contains proof of the War Council's orders too. Target civilian worlds, she explained. Murmurs rippled through the group. Aaron felt a chill as he realized how much was at stake. Truth could topple an empire or doom them all. A human rebel stepped forward to examine the dataship. If this is real, we can force a broadcast to both worlds, he said. Solara's eyes met Aaron's, and he saw her hope shining bright. The older officer shook his head. Our forces are small. Council will crush this rebellion before news spreads. Solara pressed her hand on the table. Then we grow stronger, she said firmly. Aaron felt a surge of admiration for her. Courage. The rebels gathered in whispered discussion. Aaron leaned towards Solara. Do you trust them? He asked in a hushed tone. She nodded. I have too, she replied. I trust you. Aaron swallowed down his fear. Together they watched as plans were drawn, secret transmissions, coordinated uprisings, and safe corridors for refugees. Each detail held the weight of countless lives. Night deepened outside. At the cavern's edge, Solara and Aaron found a quiet alcove. She pressed her forehead against his shoulder. I never thought I'd return home like this, she whispered. Aaron wrapped an arm around her. Home is where you make it, he said, and I will stand by you. She closed her eyes, leaning into his warmth. In that moment, the vast cavern felt small compared to the space in their hearts. Before dawn, they emerged from the tunnel under a pale sky. Soldiers on both sides marched in trenches, unaware of the rebellion growing within. Solara and Aaron watched the horizon glow with the first light. He admired her silhouette against the rising sun princess and soldier bound by old friendship and new truths. The war still raged, but now they carried a spark that could ignite hope across galaxies. Together, they walked toward the hidden command post. Each step was heavy with danger, but light with purpose. Aaron glanced at Solara, determination shining in his eyes. She smiled back, fierce and kind. In their hands lay the power to change the course of history. And as the twin suns rose higher, they stepped forward into uncertainty, united by memories of the past and the promise of peace they would forge together. That morning, Aaron and Solara moved through a ruined city under human control. Soldiers walked the streets on patrol, scanning windows and alleys for hidden threats. Solara kept her head low beneath a borrowed hood while Aaron led the way with steady steps. His heart pounded as he thought of their plan, to slip into the broadcasting tower and share the truth with both worlds. They reached a checkpoint guarded by heavy rifle turrets. Solara dropped to one knee and spoke in Altheri. Pretending to report a lost patrol, her voice was calm, each word precise. The guards exchanged glances, then nodded and waved them through. Aaron felt a rush of relief as they passed within meters of their weapons. So close he almost touched their barrels. Hend, and she offered a small, fierce smile. Inside the tower's lobby, dust floated in shafts of light from broken windows. Old propaganda posters hung tattered on the walls, showing happy soldiers and proud empires. Aaron stopped to press his palm against one poster, a human and an Altheri shaking hands. The image jolted him. This war had once promised unity. Now it only delivered sorrow. Solara placed her hand over his, their fingers entwining. They both drew strength from that silent touch. They climbed a spiraling staircase to the control room. Each step echoed in the empty shaft. Guards might emerge at any turn. When they reached the top, Solara gently jammed the exterior lock with a small metal tool. It clicked open, and they slipped inside. The control room was cluttered with consoles, wires, and flickering screens. At its center stood the main transmitter, its antenna reaching up through the shattered ceiling toward the sky. Aaron sat down. The dataship they carried and connected it to the control console. His hands trembled as he navigated the unfamiliar Altheri interface. Solara hovered at his side, pointing out buttons and switches. That one reroutes the feed, she said softly. Aaron pressed it, then scanned the code. He took a deep breath and hit broadcast. Alarms began to sound, magnified by broken speakers, but the video feed had already gone live across human and Altheri networks. On the screens, Solara appeared in her silver uniform, face uncovered, speaking in both tongues. She told of the War Council's secret orders to destroy peaceful worlds. She called on soldiers and citizens to demand an end to the fighting. Aaron watched her courage light the dark control room. He felt pride soar in his chest, though fear snarled and his gut guards would come for them any second. Red lights flashed as the control room door burst open. Two guards pointed weapons at Aaron and Solara. Without hesitation, Aaron stepped in front of her, raising his hands. "We did what was right," he said. Solara stood tall beside him. The guards hesitated, then lowered their guns. Some watched the screens too, their faces softening. The truth had reached them, and it changed everything in an instant. Moments later, a small group of soldiers entered, but they came without weapons drawn. Their leader, a human captain, saluted Solara. "We stand with you," he said. "Us what to do?" Relief flooded Aaron's heart. He and Solara exchanged a look of wonder and joy. In that crowded, flickering room, enemies became allies, united by truth and hope. Dusk fell as they descended the tower stairs together. Outside, people gathered around screens in the streets, watching Solara's message on every holopanel. Some wept, some cheered, and many reached out to hold hands with those they had considered foes. Aaron and Solara paused on the steps, watching new friendships form before their eyes. In that moment, war's walls crumbled. As night settled, Solara rested her head on Aaron's shoulder. "This is only the beginning," she whispered. Aaron kissed her hair and nodded. "We will finish it," he replied. Beneath the moonlight, the city that once rang with gunfire now hummed with voices calling for peace. Together, the princess and the soldier walked forward, old friends, forging a new future in the war they would end. That dawn, the city lay quiet under a soft pink sky. Holopanels flickered with Solara's face, and crowds gathered in streets once divided by hate. Humans and Althari stood side by side, sharing water and bread. Children laughed as they chased each other between broken statues. Aaron watched from the plaza's edge, feeling his heart lift at each friendly nod. He clasped Solara's hand, and she squeezed back, her eyes bright with hope. But the War Council refused to yield. Far beyond the city's walls, loyalist fleets gathered beneath dark clouds. Huge transports bristled with troops ready to retake the tower and crush the rebellion. Solara and Aaron knew they would face their old enemies again. In the rebel command post carved into the mountainside, they studied battle maps under torchlight. Solara's brow was furrowed as she traced supply lines. Aaron added his notes on human reinforcements, his voice calm but firm. By afternoon, loyalist soldiers advanced through ruined suburbs. Aaron led a mixed squad of human marines and Althari rebels, moving through shattered homes to protect fleeing families. Solara rode beside them on a hover cycle, her silver cloak streaming behind. When enemy fire erupted from a broken schoolhouse, Solara ducked low and returned fire with precise shots. Aaron called out orders, guiding both races into cover. Bullets rattled around them, but none broke their resolve. In the schoolyard, Aaron found a group of terrified children huddled beneath overturned desks. He knelt and showed them the jasmine flower Solara had given him. "This is a gift of peace," he told them gently. One little boy touched its soft petals and smiled. Nearby, Solara raised her hand and the other soldiers held fire. For a heartbeat, war paused as enemies watched compassion bloom in a child's face. Then a War Council enforcer appeared on the Hilatal Althari in black armor. He leveled his rifle at Solara. Memories of their shared childhood surfaced. In her eyes, the games in moonlit gardens, the dreams they whispered as children. She dropped her weapon and stepped forward, voice trembling but clear. "Stop this," she pleaded. "We are friends. Lay down your arms." The enforcer's rifle lowered for an instant, then snapped up again. Aaron sprang between them, shouting, "No!" A bolt of plasma hit his shoulder. He staggered but caught himself, blood blooming on his tunic. Solara rushed to his side, eyes wide with fear. She pressed her hand to his wound, her tears hot on his cheek. Though pain knotted his face, Aaron managed a small smile. "I'm all right," he whispered. Solara brushed back his hair, voice low. "You cannot give your life for me." As dusk fell, families streamed through a newly opened corridor toward safety in mountain caves. Solara and Aaron led them, holding hands. Refugees carried precious heirlooms, a mother's locket, an engineer's data pad, a child's stuffed star bear. Aaron helped a wounded elder onto a hover stretcher, and Solara comforted a crying girl. Each act of kindness renewed their strength. More than any victory in battle, at the rebel camp's edge, lanterns glowed against jagged walls. Solara knelt before a makeshift altar where she placed Aaron's armor and her own cloak. She laid the jasmine flower on top, its petals faint but fragrant. Aaron sat beside her, resting his head on her shoulder. Silence fell, filled only by distant echoes of conflict and the soft breathing of the people they had saved. Under the starry night, Solara spoke in a whisper. "We have done well, old friend." Aaron turned to her, his eyes warm. "We will do more," he replied. "Together." They looked up at the twin moons rising, their silver light washing over the camp. In that moment, hope felt as real as the cool night air, though the war still roared beyond. They had found something stronger than fear each other, a promise of peace they would fight for until the end. Early that morning, the rebel camp stirred to life under pale twin sunlight. Soldiers from human fleets and Althari rebels gathered around fires where hot tea steamed in battered tins. Solara moved among them, offering quiet words of thanks. In cups of warm drink, her silver eyes shone with determination. Aaron stood close by, handing out rations and listening to each soldier's story. In their teamwork, he saw hope growing stronger than any weapon. Inside the mountain's great hall, Solara and the rebel council met at a circular table carved from stone. Maps and holo projections floated above its surface, showing positions of enemy fleets and refuge corridors. The air buzzed with tension. Solara's voice was steady as she spoke of coordinating a final plea for peace, a joint declaration by human and Althari leaders broadcast across both worlds. She paused, searching the council's faces, then added softly, "This is our chance to end the war without more bloodshed." An older Althari officer leaned forward, concern in his deep eyes. "Your people expect you to claim the throne and lead the empire," he said. "If you renounce it, they may fall into chaos." Solara took a breath and looked at Aaron, who stood respectfully behind her chair. He nodded, silently urging her to trust her heart. Solara's gaze returned to the maps. "I choose peace over power," she said, voice clear. "I will step down as princess and work with our human allies to form a new council of unity." A murmur of surprise rose in the hall, followed by resolute applause. Aaron slipped in beside Solara and gently touched her arm.
"You are making
history," he whispered. Solara offered him a small, grateful smile. "I could not have done this without you," she replied. Around them, humans and Althari exchanged hopeful looks. In that moment, bonds forged in battle took on a new meaning, trust that transcended old enmity. Outside, mixed squads drilled under the watchful eyes of both human captains and rebel officers. Aaron led a group through synchronized maneuvers: advance, cover, retreat. Solara observed from a raised platform, studying how different uniforms moved as one. When a young Althari recruit stumbled, a human medic rushed to help. Ren called out, "Hold this line together." Recruits straightened shoulder to shoulder, their eyes reflecting shared purpose. Solara felt pride welling in her chest as she watched former enemies become brothers and sisters in arms. As dusk approached, Solara and Aaron climbed the mountain steps toward the old broadcasting tower where they had first transmitted the truth. Each step echoed memories of fear and hope. At the top, Solara placed her hand on the control panel. Aaron joined her, and together they activated the network's uplink. When the feed lit up across screens on both worlds, they spoke in unison. "Today, we choose unity. We choose life." Their voices carried across planets, carried on the winds of change. In the plaza below, people gathered in silence. An old human and Althari alike watched the message in awe. Tears glistened on faces as hope bloomed where hatred once reigned. Aaron squeezed Solara's hand. "Look how far we've come," he said softly. She leaned her head on his shoulder. "We did it," she whispered back, and neither of them felt fear for the first time in many nights. That night, beneath the rising twin moons, a ceremony took place at the foot of the old statue of the jasmine tree. Solara removed her princess's medallion, a symbol of the old empire, and presented it to a human child. She then declared the founding of the Unity Council, pledging to serve all peoples as a representative, not a ruler. Aaron knelt beside her and swore his oath as her guardian, an envoy between worlds. Songs rose around the campfire, blending Althri harmonies with human drums. Laughter and music chased away the last shadows of war. Solara closed her eyes, breathing in the sweet scent of jasmine that someone had placed near her. Aaron draped his cloak over her shoulders and sat beside her. In the flickering firelight, they shared a quiet moment of peace. Two friends who had become heroes and shaped a new future together. Tomorrow, the work would begin in earnest, rebuilding cities, forging laws, healing hearts. But tonight, under a sky unscarred by conflict, Solara and Aaron allowed themselves to believe in lasting peace, in the heartbeats between explosions of change. They found the courage to stand together and to lead the galaxy out of darkness into dawn. That morning, Aaron and Solara moved through a ruined city under human control. Soldiers walked the streets on patrol, scanning windows and alleys for hidden threats. Solara kept her head low beneath a borrowed hood, while Aaron led the way with steady steps. His heart pounded as he thought of their plan, to slip into the broadcasting tower and share the truth with both worlds. They reached a checkpoint guarded by heavy rifle turrets. Solara dropped to one knee and spoke in Althri, pretending to report a lost patrol. Her voice was calm, each word precise. The guards exchanged glances, then nodded and waved them through. Aaron felt a rush of relief as they passed within meters of their weapons. So close he almost touched their barrels. He squeezed Solara's hand and she offered a small, fierce smile. Inside the tower's lobby, dust floated in shafts of light from broken windows. Old propaganda posters hung tattered on the walls, showing happy soldiers and proud empires. Aaron stopped to press his palm against one poster, a human and an Althri, shaking hands. The image jolted him. This war had once promised unity. Now, it only delivered sorrow. Solara placed her hand over his, their fingers entwining. They both drew strength from that silent touch. They climbed a spiraling staircase to the control room. Each step echoed in the empty shaft. Guards might emerge at any turn. When they reached the top, Solara gently jammed the exterior lock with a small metal tool. It clicked open, and they slipped inside. The control room was cluttered with consoles, wires, and flickering screens. At its center stood the main transmitter, its antenna reaching up through the shattered ceiling toward the sky. Aaron sat down the dataship they carried and connected it to the control console. His hands trembled as he navigated the unfamiliar Althri interface. Solara hovered at his side, pointing out buttons and switches. "That one reroutes the feed," she said softly. Aaron pressed it, then scanned the code. He took a deep breath and hit broadcast. Alarms began to sound magnified by broken speakers, but the video feed had already gone live across human and Althri networks. On the screens, Solara appeared in her silver uniform, face uncovered, speaking in both tongues. She told of the War Council's secret orders to destroy peaceful worlds. She called on soldiers and citizens to demand an end to the fighting. Aaron watched her courage light the dark control room. He felt pride soar in his chest, though fear snarled and his gut guards would come for them any second. Red lights flashed as the control room door burst open. Two guards pointed weapons at Aaron and Solara. Without hesitation, Aaron stepped in front of her, raising his hands. "We did what was right," he said. Solara stood tall beside him. The guards hesitated, then lowered their guns. Some watched the screens too, their faces softening. The truth had reached them, and it changed everything in an instant. Moments later, a small group of soldiers entered, but they came without weapons drawn. Their leader, a human captain, saluted Solara. "We stand with you," he said. "Teach us what to do." Relief flooded Aaron's heart. He and Solara exchanged a look of wonder and joy. In that crowded, flickering room, Enemies became allies, united by truth and hope. Dusk fell as they descended the tower stairs together. Outside, people gathered around screens in the streets, watching Solara's message on every holopanel. Some wept, some cheered, and many reached out to hold hands with those they had considered foes. Aaron and Solara paused on the steps, watching new friendships form before their eyes. In that moment, war's walls crumbled. As night settled, Solara rested her head on Aaron's shoulder. "This is only the beginning," she whispered. Aaron kissed her hair and nodded. "We will finish it," he replied. Beneath the moonlight, the city that once rang with gunfire now hummed with voices calling for peace. Together, the princess and the soldier walked forward, old friends, forging a new future in the war they would end.